Welcome in to a special edition covering D2 baseball. Robert Frey joined here with Will Conerly. We have a special edition for you with the World Series coming up tomorrow. We're excited for it, but we want to highlight some of the players, and we're going to draft our team, if you will. Draft all nine or all eight positions in the field, plus a DH, plus three starters and two relievers for each of us. And Will and I will go back and forth and decide who who do we like at each position, and maybe say a blurb or two about these guys and really talk about how impressive they've been all season long and even in the postseason as well. So can't wait for it. Will, how about this? We're gonna do a coin flip to see who gets it. Who gets the first pick? So we will share this tab. All right, what you got, Will? Heads or tails?
Let's go to heads.
All right, heads it is. It's tails, so it looks like yours truly will be picking first. Let's go back into the draft. And so we'll just, again, go back and forth, make a pick, each guy, and we'll post it on social for you guys. And, you let us know in the comments and pick, hey, who drafted the better team. So without further ado, first pick goes to me. This is kind of tough on my end. There's a lot of good pitching. There's a lot of good hitting, but I'm definitely going to go a position where I think it's a little bit tough to decide on great hitting. Now, there's a couple guys on this team or on this list of players that you could go from, but I think at the position where you don't expect a lot of hitting, you get a lot of hitting. I'm going first pick. Give me Trip Clark from Angelo State. And what I really like about him is, he's hitting 445 on the year with a 801 slugging. Not only that, but he has 25 stolen bases as a catcher. He's also top 5 in the country in caught stealing rate amongst catchers. He has 88 driven in on the season. So there's a lot to like about Trip Clark and what he's been able to do for Angelo State. And so he's my first overall pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I was probably going to go in that direction, similar direction that you just went. I will go with a pitcher. I think that he might be the best in the country. And I'm going to go with Skyler Gonzalez from Tampa. He's put together just an unbelievable season. We've talked about him every single week, but for good reason. I mean, when you haven't lost a game and you have the record and the stuff that you have, he's definitely a guy that, if I had to pick from anybody in the country, I think would pick him. And obviously picking out of these World Series teams, I'm really excited to see him throw on this stage. And obviously with this idea of just picking our team of the 8 teams left, obviously there's a lot of really good players, and I think he probably tops the list for pitchers.
Yeah, for sure. 2.25 ERA. He's 15-0. There's a lot to like about a Skyler Gonzalez guy, and so I'm gonna go on the same train as you. And I don't want you to have that 1-2 punch. And I know he's struggled a bit here in the postseason, but overall is still a guy you would want on your team. And I'm gonna go still on the Tampa train and go Alex Caney as my pick. So currently he's 12-3 with a 3.01 ERA, and there's a lot to like there. Again, he was basically the South Region Pitcher of the Year last year. Basically, he did what Skyler Gonzalez is doing this year. But what I really like about Kenny is he has 89 strikeouts to 16 walks. So that strikeout to walk ratio, pretty good at 5.5. What I really like about that. So give me Alex Canny.
Well, I guess we're going with 3 starting pitchers, and And with them coming off the board here, I'm going to go with another arm that's undefeated. He gives you a chance every single night, and his name is Connor Wolf. And a 12-0 record, 4 complete games, over 90 innings pitched on the year. It's hard to deny what he's been able to do. Talk about the strikeout to walk ratio. It's 85-16. And so I'm going to pick Connor Wolf in this situation. There's a lot of guys to pick, and obviously there have been guys that perhaps have thrown the ball a little bit better than him in this particular postseason. When you look at some other guys, I won't say him because I might want to pick him too, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's been guys throwing well, but he's had a bulk of the work all year long, 12-0, ERA just above 4, and pitching for Central Missouri in a tough MIAA. Give me Connor Wolf.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I mean, if it came around to me, that's what it would have been my pick as well. Now, going to my again, we're gonna make it 4 starters in a row because, well, like that comes at a premium. Now, deciding between 2 different guys, but really, I think on my end, I really trust this guy, and I would give this guy the ball any day of the week if he's asking for it. And we got to go out west for this guy, and we got to go with Dylan Miller for Point Loma. And again, another guy that has just been incredible all season long, 3.48 ERA. He was the Pac West co-pitcher of the year. He's 11-2 in 101 innings. He has 90 strikeouts to 24 walks. That's good for a strikeout to walk ratio of 375. Lot to like here about this pitcher and Dylan Miller. So give me Dylan Miller.
That's a good pick. He's a frontline guy for sure. I'm going to go with a guy on the same team, but out of the back end of the bullpen. Give me James Sashin of Point Loma, who leads the country in saves. I'll take a back end arm like that any day. And man, what he's done throughout this postseason too, closing out ball games. He's been electric. He really has all year long. And I'll ride with James Sashin, one of the best closers in the country.
Hey, that's a great pick there, and man, he's definitely you feel comfortable in that back end of the bullpen, knowing hey, we got Sashin back there. If he's ready to go, we're gonna use him. So I know Point Loma head coach Justin James has done that quite a bit here this postseason with Sashin. But now we're gonna go back to offense, and well, when you think about possibly greatest Division II college baseball players of all time, this guy has to be on your list. I mean, he's been in Division II baseball for 7 years, and that's EJ Cumbo. Give me EJ Cumbo, the all-time hits leader at Tampa in his 4th year at Tampa. But not only that, I mean, he's hitting .552 with 5 home runs this postseason as well. A guy that's been just hitting the cover off the ball all season long for him. A guy that's now hitting .412 on the season with an OPS of 1,117. Again, the all-time hits leader. This is the exact guy you'd want in your lineup. He doesn't really walk much, but he doesn't really strike out much either. Only 15 strikeouts in 228 plate appearances, or excuse me, 241 plate appearances. So really exciting there. So give me EJ Cumbo.
Yeah, that's a good pick, obviously. I'm going to go with another guy, same position. I mean, I want to go same position. You've got a couple guys you can pick from, but it'll be hard to not pick a young man from Columbia, Illinois, plays for Central Missouri, who just really was the forefront of this offense's home run hitting ability that could be historic. It really is going to go down as one of the best home run hitting teams ever. Unless we continue to see this trend up. I mean, they have a chance to set the record, and a big reason why is Brennan Van Brusseggen. So I'm going to go with him, picking him to play one of the outfield spots for me for sure. It's going to be a very talented team that hits a lot of bombs, you hope. But, I'm looking at all aspects of the game, especially with how the pitching staff has been put together. And he's a beast. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a guy that can get it done on both sides of hitting and base running, 21 home runs, 21 stolen bases. Definitely a guy you would want on your team in any way, shape, form. So Hey,
Fielding
that
1,000 too, I think. I don't think he made an error this year. I need to check. Let's see, 126 attempts, 0 errors. So he plays some good outfield.
that is some good outfield there, and I mean, I like table setters on this team, and I know I have a table setter in EJ Combo, but we'll go keep at the same team, and we'll go with a guy who is hitting atop of this Central Missouri lineup, a guy who has 30 stolen bases, a guy who has 16 home runs, hitting 373 with an on base percentage of 478. And I'm going to go Carter Young for Central Missouri
Hmm.
as my second outfielder. And I mean, yeah, like I said, 16 home runs, 30 stolen bases, a guy who can get it done on both sides of the ball, playing for this Mules team. Really excited to see him play as well. So give me Carter Young.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Carter Young is really good. The man, they have a heck of an outfield with those guys. I'm gonna go with young man out west. I need an infielder, and I'm gonna go with Scott Anderson from Point Loma. Hard to argue with what he did, hit above 400, and obviously just again just one of the best players in the West region for another year in a row. Historic season that he put together. And really, I like what he does in all aspects. He plays good in the field. He takes his walks. He's clutch. He's had some really clutch at bats for this team, and he has just so much pop. I mean, it's what you love, an athletic shortstop that can hit it and spray it around the ball yard. So give me Scott Anderson.
Yeah, I mean that would have been my next pick, but hey, we thinking smart. But now I'm gonna think smart here and go with probably the. You could make some arguments for on Central Missouri side, but I'm gonna go with who I think is probably the best second baseman um, here of the team in the field of eight. And I'm going to go with a man that's hitting in the middle of this Southern New Hampshire lineup.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Jorge Burgos.
That's who I was going to pick for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the best second basemen in this field. He's been very effective all year long with the bat in his hand. I was eyeing Jorge as well. Man, you're gonna have to make me look at the draft board here. I always got to think a step ahead. I mean, let's see. I mean, obviously, I feel pretty confident of who I'm gonna get at catcher, so I don't need to pick the catcher, right? Because you already have your catcher, unless you try
I
to
pick
pick
him
that
for
young
DH.
man. Yeah, and there are a couple catcher options. Um, but I don't know. For me personally, and I don't know what you think about this, but when I look at what Chase Heath did this year, that's going to be my pick. Hitting 392, 16 home runs, 13 doubles, OPS above 1200. I really, when I was putting together things for all American teams, it was like, hey, Trip Clark, Chase Heath. It was kind of a toss up. You had some other guys like Troy Shields, obviously, what he did at Oklahoma Baptist. I'm talking in the country, and to have two of the best catchers in the country in this particular field. I don't know when NCBWA they released their All American team. They had Clark Shields and Matt Magno of Northwood, which again, hard to argue with that. And Josh Lopez. So there are a lot of really good catchers, and I think Chase Heath, for me, is top of that list because he certainly he plays really good in terms of you think of his pop at 16 home runs and 13 doubles, but he's walks way more than he strikes out, and that's what I love about a guy who can hit about 400 but still have an OPS at 1300. So give me Chase Heath.
Hey, that's a great pick there. I know, like, again, we love the amount of talent that's here in the World Series. And speaking of talent, since you went with a catcher, since I already have a catcher, I'm gonna go over the shortstop position. And Will, I think you know who I'm going with. And some say this guy might be pretty good and they're out there in Indianapolis, and we're going to go with Easton Good, who has just been beyond good for the Greyhounds here this season. 361, 9 home runs, 9 RBI. But what's really impressive with him is he's stolen 40 bags this year for the Greyhounds. So um, I want that kind of speed on the base pass, speed in the field too. He can get the balls that most can. I know his fielding percentage is not quite what you want it to be at shortstop, but I think we have that opportunity to have a guy like Easton Good, take that opportunity.
Yeah, no, he's had an incredible year. He's a huge reason why they are in this position that they're in. He's a huge, I mean, one of the, not the sole reason, but again, when Indy was struggling at the beginning of the year, we kind of looked and we said, man, Easton Good's really going off. And don't get me wrong, way more guys than just Easton Good have gone off. You have to get to carry. I mean, everybody really has to go off. I don't think people understand how hard it is to do that, especially for a second consecutive year when they were certainly counted out after losing 3 of their 4 starters. We've detailed that. But man, to have him go off to start the year, I think that really gave this team some belief, saying, hey, it's not just Easton Good. It's a young man who was, correct me if I'm wrong, a first-team All-American a season ago in the same infield, Drew Donaldson. More guys started to go, but I think Easton Good, he kind of set the tone for this entire season, and he's played well all year long. So that is a fantastic pick. And now I'm very interested to see, there's obviously I need a guy at the hot corner. I need a guy at first. I need a guy at second, but don't have to push. Need a DH too. I mean, it's gonna be an interesting thing. Also, could look at some more arms here, but I don't know. I'm thinking. Man, we already got him. I mean, I might just, with the way he's thrown recently, or the way he's handled the bat recently, I don't know. I'm going to go with Jake Entrikin as my designated hitter. How about that?
Oh, that's a pretty good pick right there.
So, I mean, especially with the way he has swung the bat this season, I think it's hard to ignore some of the work he's put in. And Robert, I know you pulled the data on it. He has just gone off in this postseason as well. So, obviously he is great as a backstop, and you have him on a team. You guys can kind of, that's what I guess you need to do. You need to get another catcher to switch him out. But man, he has had a fantastic season, 372 average, and overall, or check that. I think I'm shorting him on that regard, but overall, I mean, he's had a really good time at the plate. Yeah, 372, 15 bombs. And so I'm taking him at OPS, so 1 dot. So give me Jake Entrikin.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who's hitting 458 this postseason, slugging almost 1,000, 4 home runs, 13 RBI. He had a 2 home run, 8 RBI game, which tied up postseason record in Point Loma history with 8 RBI in one game. I mean, there's a lot to like there. But speaking of a lot to like there, I'm going to go with a guy who has just hit everything this postseason, and a 720 batting average in 32 plate appearances this postseason. He's hitting 413 on the season. He's a teammate of EJ Combo. Oh, and he's a two-way player, but we'll stick him at first base on my team, and we'll go JP Gates out of Tampa. Again, hitting 413 this season for the Spartans. He's hitting 720 this postseason. I mean, there's not much that you can say that's like, hey, this is our guy. Plus, he's thrown a few scoreless frames as well. So if I need an extra reliever, I got JP Gates in my back pocket.
You do. You really do. And it's interesting. I want to give I think there's a lot of really good players out there that I want to give some love to, but it is also, you think about this draft, and I don't even know how we're ultimately gonna judge this, but it is kind of fun. This kind of gives you guys a preview too of just some of the guys that hey, we're both excited to watch in this field. Huh. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting when we look at it from this perspective. I think, man, I'm gonna go with a guy again, man. You could really just take everybody on this offense, but when I look at the first base position, I look at what the Mules have done, and Josh Patrick's pretty good in my book.
Hey, that's a good guy to get there. I
Hey,
mean,
so
I got a guy with a dozen home runs and 21 stolen bases. Yeah, you can't really argue much on that end.
no, I mean, and he's done a lot of really good things throughout this postseason. He's had a lot of hits, and again, he hits the bombs. He's been huge for this program for real. So just one of the 20 guys that they have that are double-digit bombs. So I mean, he's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not necessarily one of 20 guys, but it's pretty darn close if you really think about it. Again, like the Mules are only 6 home runs away from breaking the record.
How many guys are double digit? Honestly, let's see. Van Brussegen's got to be one. Heath's two. Carter Young, Josh Patrick. There's guys that I'm probably not even gonna know. Max
One
Holy.
Vance Tobel. So yeah, there's 7 guys with 10 or more home runs.
Yeah.
Could be 8 if Jack Shark runs into one here in
Oh
Perry.
my gosh,
They have 8 guys with 9 or more home runs.
that is insane. That in 60 games they've hit 126. And we asked Crooks about that. He said it's been a good year. They didn't really ever look at the record, but it's been windy in the Midwest too. But man, it's been more than a little bit just windy. They've been squaring the balls up for sure.
Well, for sure. And another guy that's been squaring up the ball as well in this postseason, but on the season he's hitting 367. I have to keep with the Mules team. And, since neither of us have filled our third base spot, I got to go Jacob Steele with the Mules, 367. He's got a baker's dozen home runs. He's stolen 20 bases. A really good spot there at the hot corner. A guy I want on my team. Kind of want to balance it out a little bit. I know I have a decent amount of left-handed hitting. So let me get Jacob Steele from UCM third base.
Man, you're thinking about it in that regard. That's good. That really is good about trying to move. I still need another outfielder. I feel like, or are we doing you? We're not doing utility. We're just doing a DH. I'm gonna go with Harry Vargas Segura. I love the way he plays in the outfield. He's gonna make my team a little bit more dynamic. And so for Southern New Hampshire, patrolling the outfield, Harry Vargas Segura is a guy that I would enjoy on my team. It's an added benefit that he is somebody who has the ability to do a lot of just wreck a lot of havoc. I mean, Robert, he has 48 swiped bags on the year in 54 attempts. And he's hitting 332 with 47 runs driven in. So it's just really hard to argue his ability.
It is really hard to argue his ability and what he's been doing there as well. And yeah, it's an added dynamic for that offense. I mean, you essentially just have 2 center fielders now with Van Bersegen and Vargas Segura. So,
Exactly.
balls in the gap have a chance of being caught there as well.
Talk
And
about.
I mean, yeah, that's really impressive there, and we're excited for it. But a guy I'm excited for to join my squad. We'll go back to the rotation, and I'll fill out my number 3 starter, and he's been a workhorse for Catawba all season long, and that's Payne Stolesworth
Oh
as
yeah.
the sack pitcher of the year, first team all region. A guy you want 105 innings. He's 11-3 with an ERA of 3.51. This is the guy you want. You know, when you pencil him in, you know you're going to get quality innings out of him every time you start. So give me Payne Stolesworth from Catawba.
I like that, especially because he's thrown the ball so well this postseason. We take this into account again. We'll get we appreciate you guys kind of walking through this with us. There's 8 teams in this field. They're all the best teams in the country, so to speak, in the respect that, hey, they got out of their region, and that gives them a lot of credit. They got a lot of great players. We're picking them. We're creating our own teams. And, man, these will be some heck of teams because I'm going to get another back-end arm now, and I'm going to go EJ White out of UIndy. I got a couple good closers right now on my squad. You need some guys tight, late, big postseason games. If Skyler and Connor Wolf both undefeated on the hill, Saxion and White, they both have a lot of saves slamming the door shut this season. And White gives you a little bit of a different look. He's not that sometimes that D2 closer that's an all-region, all-American type guy. You think of like 94, 97 with good slider, decent changeup. Doesn't even have to be that hard, just 90, 94. He's not going to be that, but he's going to give you a different arm angle, tough to hit, really like his makeup, his game. He's clutch. He's closed out a couple supers. So give me EJ White.
Hey, that's a guy you want on your team, man. Oh man, I was ready to make that pick, but you jumped ahead of it there, having those guys. But you know what? I think it's good because again, it showcases the amount of talent here that we have this postseason. I know there's a lot of guys we can pick from, so I don't feel necessarily as down as I might feel with some of these guys in the back end because we got to talk about a guy who has a 2.09 ERA in 38 and 2/3 innings and struck out 53 batters while he's done it, and for the defending national champions. And so we got to go to the bullpen, and we got to go Caleb Hewarts from Angelo State. Again, a 2.09 ERA. He's thrown 7 2/3 scoreless this postseason, 23 appearances, 1 start. Really like his game as well, having him on the back end as well. So a guy, is comfortable going multiple innings. Again, 23 appearances, 38 and 2/3 innings. So makes it makes it comfortable knowing, hey, we got a tight game in the middle innings. I can go to Hewarts and feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what you do with that final reliever spot because there are some guys on every single team still left. Maybe not you, Indian Point Loma, that you would pick, but they still have multiple guys in the back end of those pens. I'm interested to see because, man, I can't pick them, so it doesn't matter. But we will see what you do with that pick. So I need one. So we're almost done with pitchers. There's just 2 pitchers to be had right here. This is an interesting one because I got another guy, and Robert, he's a catcher, so I don't feel like I can pick him in good honesty. But I feel like I could tell him, hey, you're gonna play a different position for me. I don't know. We will see. I need some I don't know. Would that be cheating?
I mean, what you could do if that's the case, I'm sure you could probably throw Entrican in the outfield.
You could. You could throw Entrican in the outfield. Obviously, Heath at first. I think you know who I'm thinking of right now as a catcher. I will try to think of somebody else because I don't know if you're gonna. Well, you'll probably pick him as your. You'll probably pick him as your designated hitter, perhaps. Oh man, I feel like I'm sleeping on a couple of my guys from Kataba, but man, this is this is interesting how they have to go through this draft process. Usually the NFL gets like what 10, 15 minutes on this stuff. Um, let's see. I also like him, man. Man, you got some back end arms that you're going to be able to pick from. But all in all, I think that when I break it down and understand that, okay, I need another outfielder, I will. I mean, I'll probably. I also need another starter. I'm going to go with my starter because I feel more comfortable in that pick. Austin Trumpor from Southern New Hampshire. Give me him as my third starter. And I will try to circle back to other people I was debating on.
Hey, that's a good pick. Been a workhorse for Southern New Hampshire, and he has 93 strikeouts and 89 and 2/3 innings, a 4.42 ERA for the Penmen. A guy who's got it done for multiple seasons there. And, I mean, yeah, you have multiple years of experience there too, with going to Cary, with those opportunities. But man, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna hold off on my reliever now because, like you said, there's a few names that I could go. So I'm still using that time to decide. But when you want to talk about a guy who's been consistent this postseason and trying to find representation here, I'm a big fan of what he's done this postseason. He's recorded an RBI in every game this postseason, so he's come up big. He came up big, beating Charleston in that regional final. And so I'm going to fill my last outfield spot. I'm going to go with Ricardo Aponte from IUP. Guy who's hitting 323 again. Every game he's played in this postseason, in terms of regionals and supers, he's recording an RBI. He had 4 against the opening game against Charleston, 2 against Westchester, and he's recorded at least 1 RBI every game since. So give me a guy who, what was a catcher, and then Steve Klein, head coach for IUP, moved him to the outfield, and he's done well out there. So give me Ricardo Aponte there to fill out my outfield.
I'm going to go fill it mine out as well, and I'm going to go with a young man from Colleyville, Texas. I'm going to go with Jacob Guerrero from Angelo State. That's who I'm going to select for my final outfield spot. And
hey, that's a great pick.
He has been the stud for multiple years, has the pedigree, has everything you would want. And again, man, I have a pretty athletic outfield. So I'm happy about that because balls in the gap, a better chance of a good play being made. And I like putting together an athletic outfield, but all these guys have pop too. So that's a good sign.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like you said, a lot of pop. I mean, looking at your offense, top to bottom right now, there is a ton of pop there, and with leaving this with, hey, how am I going to fill out that last spot? I could go back to like a Central Missouri type and pick from the remaining guys there. I could go with, a guy from Point Loma, pick some guys there. Could go IUP, Southern New Hampshire. There's a lot of guys. But again, I think I want to wreak havoc on the base paths. I want to make this team multifaceted and have guys who not only get on base, but then have the threat of stealing bases as well. So for my DH spot, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move Carter Young over to DH, and then I'm going to fill that right field spot with a man that stole 40-plus bags a year ago and has stolen 27 this year. And, well, matter of fact, in the Supers, he stole second, third, and home. in just a few at bats, and I'm going to go with UIndy's Caleb Vaughn, a guy who can get it done there as well. Again, I think my side of it too is, aside from Cumbo and Gates, let these guys run and wreak havoc. Have those guys like Cumbo and Gates drive them in, whereas all these other guys, once they get on base, hey, we're gonna threaten to steal bases.
Oh yeah, I mean you have Good and Vaughn. That's probably your top two hitters in your lineup. That's that's what probably 60 stolen bases right there. So that's pretty good. Obviously, you have Clark. I'm sure he would probably be your three hole. I mean, you have a lot of options. You could go Cumbo, Clark. That's a heart of the order that nobody wants to face. I need a second baseman. I'm gonna go with. I mean, I was debating this one. Obviously, you had the All American from a season to go, Andrew Donaldson. Didn't have the year he had last year. Still had a pretty good year, but he had high expectations. I'm going to go with Cy Santos from Point Loma. He hit 354 this year, 10 home runs, 52 runs driven in. Plays pretty good, but also, again, I need some speed. He's 17 of 21 on the base paths, but again, a 354 mark. That's an unreal middle infield, and now I kind of have some of that continuity with Santos and Anderson up the middle. They've played together before. They're going to turn to quite a bit. I mean, it's a Point Loma defense that definitely was able to get a lot of double plays. They turned, I think, 37 this year, 7 more than their opponents. But overall, yeah, that's why I'm going to go with Santos, a really good pick at second.
Hey, that's a great pick there, and rounding out that lineup, and again, like you mentioned, you have that continuity because Santos and Anderson have done it before, with that shortstop second base combo. Now for that last reliever spot, man, there's a lot of names, and I'm gonna mention most, if not all of them, that I'm thinking about. So you got the freshman of the year for Catawba, Hayden Simerson, as a back end guy. You got a guy who closed out both games in the East Super Regional, and Jake Reisdorf. You got a guy who's thrown 9 scoreless in Jimmy Tooley at IUP. I mean, the list goes on and on there. You got a guy who is really good in the back end for Central Missouri with 44 strikeouts, JD McReynolds. You got another guy in Andrew Carson who's been really good in the back end as well for this team. So a lot of interesting names to go with here. And at the end of the day, like, you have to go with guys who, in my personal experience, I like guys who can give you multiple innings and maybe give you a spot start here or two. And I'm going to go back to Catawba, and I'm going to go with that freshman, Hayden Simerson.
Yeah, no, that is.
In 68 and a third innings, he has 8 saves. He's 3-3, 28 appearances, 7 games started, a 3.42 ERA. Again, it's a guy where, if you're thinking about this in a tournament format, not only can he give you length as a reliever, but if you get further on in the postseason and you're like, hey, we need a guy to cover innings to start, I can say, Hayden, go get the ball. Give us 5 innings to start the game, and you have that opportunity with him.
Yeah, this would be. I mean, the teams we're putting together right now are pretty crazy. These would be legitimate contenders at the D1 level. These teams that we're putting together, no question about it. I am gonna need some assistance now for my last pick. We've got a lot of guys at third. I love your pick of Simerson. I thought that obviously you had the high leverage guys at Tampa and UCM, but man, I like that, what he's done. Now I'm gonna need a little thought on third base now. There's some interesting guys. I'm not really sure where I should start. Because this was I mean, even when we were putting together our All-American teams, I found this to be the most difficult position to try to nail down. And when I look at this overall, Robert, do you if I could call for a lifeline, do you have any suggestions?
None off the top of my head for you in terms of suggestions. I know we have guys who are available, but the problem is, do they play third base?
That's what
Typically,
I'm saying. That's the hardest thing because I find I mean, I have a lot of guys that I wish we. I mean, we missed out on some really good hitters, but I guess you can only make a line. And even with 8 teams, 8 of the best teams in the country. But yeah, trying to find a guy who can go and play the hot corner for me. Like I don't know. When I look at like again, you think of an infielder on the left side. I think we missed. No, we didn't miss because Good and Anderson are probably the two best. But man, Levi Perel is so good.
Levi Perel is so good. Yeah,
And of Catawba, and I was really considering picking him, but he's a shortstop, and I feel like we can move him over to third. But I want to give some respect to the guys who play at the hot corner too. And what I think I might do in this particular scenario is I might go give you a little utility action here because he plays third, but he also will pitch. And that's going to be a guy who has a 3.05 ERA on the season and 15 appearances. But he's hitting 288. Don't get me wrong, but he's got 11 driven in and 80 at bats. We can stick him and he's played third here in the postseason. So give me him. He scuffled a little bit as of late, but I'll take Frankie tomorrow as a guy who can be a utility man for me as well. But we'll have him at third, and we can mix and match some things if we need to. Obviously, Entrikin is not that versatile of a defender as my DH. He's pretty much a DH, but I'll still roll my dice and give me tomorrow at the hot corner.
hey, that's a good pick there. I honestly thought you were going to go with a guy like Anthony Nunez at Tampa. Could have gone a guy like Camden Kelton as well.
I know he hasn't. Yes, I wanted Garavito to get picked, man. I think he might have been the best player not picked here. But like catcher wise, it's Heath, Clark, Garavito. You could have gone DH. Entrikin. I mean, I could have gone somewhere else, but I thought that overall, him and then Perel, those were the guys I felt the worst for because I think so much of them. It just felt like Anderson for me was a lock. I mean, I'm really high on him. So
yeah, or a guy we haven't mentioned. I know regular season wise he hasn't done that great, but postseason has really turned it on. Nico Saladino for Tampa as well. So another guy that you think, oh, you know what, maybe we should give him some love. But again, this is we are only limited to a certain amount of spots, so this is still a fun way to kind of highlight the players and talk about how good they've been for their respective teams and what they've done. So being able to fill this out was a lot of fun here, and being able to see, hey, who's your offense, who's your kind of guys that you can rely on, guys we like, and guys we can look forward to watching here this weekend once the World Series starts there in Cary, North Carolina. So I'm really excited for it. I can't wait. What do you think, Will?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm pumped up for it. If you guys are interested on any breakdowns of the matchups, or a preview of the entire field, of every single team, and of course the matchups, you guys can go to our Twitter page at DIVII Baseball on X, and then you guys can see that we posted that yesterday of all the previews and breakdowns of the tournament. So you asked me what I think, and I mean that's a layup. Yeah, I think a lot of what's going to happen. I think the world of just these teams that have been able to put themselves in a position to have an opportunity to compete for a national title. It's going to be a lot of fun. Every single year, it provides you a lot of fun, but also with this big buildup to it, I think it is even in the atmosphere at USA Baseball Training Complex. I think that also provides more of it. And I would like to think that maybe just a little bit, that we can also at least try to elevate and pump up some of what has gone on. And I'd like to think that we've done that throughout the duration of this season and will continue to. But that also excites me about the opportunity to detail it and showcase and highlight Division II baseball. And Robert, I know that you think very much of that same sentiment and that same purpose of what you try to do here at DIVII.
Oh yeah, Will, and I know both of us together are really excited for this. We're roughly a little over 24 hours away from first pitch when Point Loma takes on IUP there, and we have both of us have guys from Point Loma and IUP that we're looking forward to watching, but we're also looking forward to watching that exciting matchup between starting pitchers between Dylan Miller and Mark Heddeburn in that first game, and then you have Central Missouri and Angelo State in that night game. Another thing I'm excited for.
Yeah.
I mentioned it there, and Will brought it up greatly. It's, watch our preview covering all of this. And I mentioned quite a few times, the perennial powerhouse of Central Missouri going up against the defending national championship in the first round creates a lot of excitement for that first game. So being able to tune into that is something that is well worth your time. And again, all games will be streamed on ncaa.com. Just go on the bracket and click on the game you want to watch, and you can watch it from there.
Yeah, free to watch. I think you can get it to I remember casting. You can cast it to a TV as well, depending on what type of device you have. But yes, you can watch it for free on ncaa.com. I'd like to shout out Joe Castellano, who I believe is going to be on the play-by-play on the broadcast for all of those games. And so huge credit to his dedication to the craft. Know how much work it takes to try to detail and highlight and uncover the story of all 8 teams from across the country. So shout out to him and all of you guys as well for being interested in what we think and what we have to say about Division II baseball. We've got a Gonzalez versus Canny matchup, Robert. If our teams played each other, that would be pretty fun. Maybe you could do a sim on this.
I'll try my best to see what I can conjure up, but I know this still again is fun, and we'll post this out a little bit later today, and leave comments below. Let us know, who you think has the better team, who you like, anybody we left out, because I know. We mentioned earlier, we did leave a few guys out. It's very hard to pick these kind of players for these teams. Like, I mentioned some of the relievers. Will mentioned some of the bats that were left out. It is hard to pick these kind of guys for these kind of teams.
Even some of the starters, Dax Daffy. You could
Braxton
even go
Pearson,
exactly Austin Fine. There was obviously a lot of really good. Point Loma's entire staff. There was just a lot of really good players. It was interesting because looking at every team's roster and looking at how they do, you just try to go, and then kind of have the chess match. Oh, Robert went a pitcher, I'm going a pitcher. So, but it was really fun, and I definitely enjoy doing that. Yeah. So you guys are going to see us. Maybe we'll do an all D2 team next, or something, as we release our All Americans. So that's coming on the horizon. But D2 baseball on the way soon, Robert.
Yep. All right, guys. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and we hope you enjoy your weekend. And if you're watching this before Saturday, get ready for Saturday, because that's when it all starts.